10 senior UK Independence Party activists have called for their spokesman in Scotland, David Coburn, to be replaced. The demand was made in a letter, which has been seen by the BBC, to London-based bosses. The group believes the party's electoral chances will be damaged if the gaffe-prone MEP remains. David Coburn should concentrate on what he does best, charming people and making friends on a one-to-one basis. Extract from UKIP activists' letter. Mr. Coburn dismissed the criticism as nonsense and has received the backing of UKIP leader Nigel Farage. The party is fielding candidates on the 8 regional lists for the Scottish Parliament election on May 5. And ahead of the European referendum on June 23, UKIP in Scotland is also campaigning for the UK to end its membership of the EU. Mr. Coburn is the party's only elected politician in Scotland, having won his seat at the Brussels Parliament in May 2014. At the end of February 10, activists wrote to UKIP's party chairman, Steve Crowther, complaining about dysfunctional management in Scotland. They highlighted what they called major public gaffes by Mr. Coburn and said he was not suited to being the Scottish face of the Brexit campaign. The group, including 5 local party chairmen, Peter Adams, Sarah Daveney, Ross Durrance, Otto Inglis, and Bill Wright, demanded that Mr. Coburn be replaced. The letter said, "As we are the only Eurosceptic party in Scotland, it falls to us to supply an alternative spokesman. David Coburn just occasionally says things that perhaps he might regret later." Nigel Farage, UKIP leader. If the referendum is close, failure to do so could cost us our country. We propose that the party conduct tests of our Scottish lead list candidates' abilities in debate and on television generally, and appoint the best performer as our Scottish spokesman. Meanwhile, David should concentrate on what he does best, charming people and making friends on a one-to-one basis. Mr. Farage, who is campaigning in Inverness on Wednesday, responded to the criticisms by saying that Mr. Coburn was a highly colourful, larger-than-life figure. He added, David Coburn just occasionally says things that perhaps he might regret later, but you know what, he's come from the world of business, he was dealing in antiques, he's got involved in politics, he's a Scot, he's passionate and he believes in an independent UK. Once you rise in the polls and people can see there's a prospect of getting elected to Holyrood, then all sorts of rivalries come into play. We've seen a bit of that in Scotland, it's part of the natural growing pains that political parties have.